Hello, friends, and welcome to the first episode of the Shnick Review Show. On this show, we'll primarily be talking about video games, my favorite pastime, but you never know. I could put in a movie review every now and then if the copyright Nazis will let me. But enough with the introduction, let's talk about our first game, Nickelodeon Party Blast! Released on the GameCube, Xbox, and PC in 2002, Nickelodeon Party Blast, as the title would suggest, is a party game starring several popular Nickelodeon characters from the time period, such as Tommy and Angelica from Rugrats, Otto and Reggie from Rocket Power, Eliza from the Wild Thornberrys, SpongeBob SquarePants, Jimmy Neutron, and everyone's favorite, Invader Zim. And let me tell you, this was one of my favorite games as a kid. Oh, I remember I had the PC version. My PC couldn't play it, so when my dad got a new one, it was the first game I played on it. I mean, come on! I can't be the only one who loved this game. What did the critics think about it? Oh. Awkward? Yes. As it turns out, Party Blast is considered to be the worst Nickelodeon game, one of the worst party games ever made, one of the worst games on the GameCube and PC, and the worst game on the Xbox. It was hated by critics so much that a planned PS2 version ended up getting scrapped. Damn. I liked this game as a kid? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. Is this game the big piece of crap everybody calls it, or was it judged too harshly? We shall find out. Yeah, we'll be covering the Xbox version, for the sake of convenience. The game's single-player mode contains 3 different modes of play. We're going to be looking at Blast throughout this review since it's the main single-player experience. There's only 5 different types of minigames to play throughout the game, which doesn't count a few bonus minigames you can unlock. But at the very least, we are given different stages to play them on. I will give the developers some credit for making the stages completely different from each other in terms of layout, hazards, and methods of play, when they easily could have repeated the same stage over and over and over again and just add a fresh cone of paint over them. Getting to the minigames themselves, the first minigame is Food Fight. Consider it to be this game's deathmatch mode. The goal is just simply to pick up food and throw at the other players until you drain their health. You can also use several power-ups, such as a sponge that will regenerate some of your health, a shield that will protect you from getting hit at the expense of gravitating food away from you, and a thundercloud that generates a shockwave that will damage all the other players. You could also pick up and throw other players as a method of stealing their health through the Nickelodeon coins they drop. The different types of food themselves can function in different ways too. Some are just one-use throwing items, but then there's some that can be thrown more than once, some that can be shot like a machine gun, and then some that explode upon impact. This game is surprisingly deep in its gameplay style. But the million-dollar question is, does that make it good? Well, yes and no. The gameplay feels unbalanced in some aspects. For one thing, the hit detection is pretty random. I don't know if it's supposed to be a temporary invincibility or not, but sometimes when you hit another player, the hit doesn't register. Additionally, trying to aim yourself at the other players is pretty awkward. It seems that you always need to be moving towards the other players in order to get a clear shot at them, and knowing how random the hit detection is, it can actually be pretty frustrating to try and hit the other players. Not to mention, I forgot to mention the Goose ability. Yeah, throughout every minigame, if you pick up the letters that spell Goose, you gain the ability to spray the iconic Nickelodeon slime all over the place, which is meant to cover the other players in the slime that can slow them down and give you an advantage. The ability is at its most useful in Food Fight, but unfortunately, using the ability tends to cause the game to lag to the point of being almost unplayable. Although, I found the ability in the PC version moves much smoother, so if you're playing the Xbox version, I don't recommend it. But then again, the other players have the ability to use it too, so it's pretty much unavoidable. Besides, the ability is almost useless outside a food fight, so it begs the question why they even include it in all the minigames anyway. But getting back to Food Fight, despite its negative aspects, it can actually be pretty satisfying to play. Some of the fights you can get into are pretty epic, and nothing's more satisfying than seeing the other player suffer your wrath. That's right, weaklings! Be crushed by the might of delicious beef patties! One last thing about Food Fight, the boss. Yeah, the 5 main minigames each have a boss character, or boss characters, for you to defeat. Usually being another character from the universe that the stage you're playing on represents. Well, Food Fight's boss stage is in the Rugrats universe, but you know what? I can't remember who the boss was. Was it Stu, Phil and Lil, Grandpa Lou, or maybe even Spike? What the hell is that? Yeah, strangely enough, instead of using a character from Rugrats, they instead use some type of juice dispenser that can move on wheels and shoot oranges out of its arm. Well, from the stage's icon, I can assume that this is supposed to be one of Stu's inventions, but that doesn't excuse the fact that it has never been seen on the show, at least to my knowledge. I know I might be nitpicking, but think about it. All the other bosses are characters from their respective shows, so why couldn't they do the same for Rugrats? Even then, this boss is probably the easiest in the game. It always stays stationary and only turns around to face you. All you have to do is circle it, hit it from behind a few times, run to avoid its oranges, and rinse and repeat. Wow, wasn't that a long description? But, in conclusion, Food Fight's got its share of problems, but once you learn how it's done, the game can be, as the game's title suggests, a blast. Give it some credit for being better than the movie Food Fight, at least. Well, here we go. Next game. The next mini-game is referred to as the Pipes Challenge. The basic goal is to build a trail of pipes to provide energy to do something, such as launching a rocket or submerging a chicken in goo. Yeah, that's Invader Zim humor for you. While this may sound simple, this is actually the worst of the minigames in my opinion. For one thing, the other players always try to steal your pipes away. This is the whole point of the game, and the game even offers you methods of protecting your pipes, but like the hit detection in Food Fight, the outcome is completely random. You can stand on your pipes to provide a shield to them at the expense of the pipes not functioning, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Even when it does, the other players tend to stick around till they have an opening. Additionally, there's a power-up that can protect the pipes and let them do their job, but if you try adding pipes after activating the power-up, it stops working. Even though you can have some fun with the minigame, it's still without a doubt the most frustrating. The stage hazards and the pipe-destroying power-ups that are thrown all over the place can ruin your hard work in a split second. The boss fight on this stage is Mr. Krabs. Unfortunately, he's fairly hard to beat due to the nature of the minigame, but if you can master your pipe building skills, you shouldn't have much of a problem. And that's the Pipes minigame. Not good, but not broken either. The next minigame is basketball. Yeah, I know it's called rollerball within the game. Let's face it, you're gonna call it basketball. The only thing that's different from regular basketball is the fact that you're on roller skates. The game expects you to do tricks in order to obtain a multiplier, and then use that multiplier to score extra points from the baskets you make. Sadly, this is one game I might consider to be broken, because all you have to do is keep stealing the ball away and keep making baskets, and there's no real reason to do the tricks. Another reason to consider this minigame somewhat broken is the fact that the AI, it doesn't seem to function properly in this minigame compared to the others. Sometimes they'll play against you like they're LeBron James or something, and then other times they'll just fidget around like they got issues or something. I've even seen instances where they don't even move around at all! The boss fight is with Goddard, and 2 holograms of Goddard. Although, they're extremely easy due to the fact that their AI is pretty much no different from the regular opponents. I guess I have to take back what I said about that juice dispenser. And besides, when did Goddard ever sound like a human? And better yet, when did he ever sound like a chicken? Although, this game can still be fun to play despite its issues, since it's, well, basketball. Who doesn't like basketball? Just try to get some other people to play with you, and try to stay away from the single player mode. Next we have Squirtle Splash. It's basically food fight with squirt guns instead of food, and a point system instead of a health system. You can also pick up coins around the stage to boost your score, and it's probably your best bet at winning a game of this, since actually squirting the other players doesn't usually get you that many points. It should also be mentioned that this game suffers from the same hit detection problems as Food Fight, though there's two things that are different. 1. The problem seems to only occur between different stages, with the Rugrats and Wild Thornberry stages being fine, but the SpongeBob and Invader Zim stages not so much. And 2. The problem is even worse than it was before. On the SpongeBob and Invader Zim stages, it seems like almost every single shot you fire misses. If it weren't for the coins on the SpongeBob stage and the cannon in the Invader Zim stage, I doubt I would have been able to beat them. With that said, the Invader Zim stage is the boss stage, where you fight Dib and Gaz. And let me tell you, this probably has one of the most unfair rule changes ever put into a game. You see, in the regular stages, if you fall out of the arena, you either have to jump back into the arena or get placed back onto the stage, which causes you to lose points. But on the boss stage, if you fall off, that's it. You lose the stage entirely, regardless of whether or not you were in the lead. But whenever Dib and Gaz fall off the stage, they come back, so why can't you? This wouldn't piss me off so much if it weren't for the fact that you have to survive a full 3 minutes without falling off the stage. And being that there do exist power-ups that force you off the stage, if Dib and Gaz so much as grab one of them, kiss your ass goodbye. In fact, what was the point of even changing the rules like that? No. That was probably the developer's way of saying, "Oh, I don't care if you had fun with the rest of the minigame, you better beat the boss in one perfect run, or else you get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!" And I'm being serious. The other stages in this minigame are actually almost as fun as Food Fight, in a similar fashion to how they share their problems. I even got some enjoyment out of the SpongeBob stage. Sure, the hit detection's off, but at least you can run around grabbing coins to win. At least you can knock other players off the stage for the fun of it. And the best part? The stage doesn't make you lose instantly! And besides, I don't even understand the conditions of even winning the boss fight. I've had the clock stop at 50 seconds, they've been pulled out of the stage, and I win. What did I do? Like, do you have to get a certain amount of points? Or did the game just glitch out and gave you a your winner screen or something? Looking back, the boss fight with Dib and Gaz is not as hard as I remember it, but still, that doesn't excuse the fact that they have to do a random rule change just to give you some form of challenge. Ugh. Well, this is it. Final minigame. The last minigame type is called Racing.
You've chosen Racing,
even though the manual refers to it as Coin Rally. But to be honest, Coin Rally is probably a more fitting title, because all you do is race down a track collecting coins, and the goal is to have the most coins by the end. Simple. To be honest, this minigame is actually a hell of a lot of fun. Out of all 5 of the minigames, this one appears to have the least problems, and can actually provide quite a challenge. You actually have to work in order to collect the coins and maneuver around the track's obstacles, because if you fall behind, you lose some of your coins. The power-ups add to the challenge, as you can use them to steal coins from other players, but when they acquire the power-ups, you need to work to avoid them, rightfully so. There's even a power-up of a Reptar doll that you need to pass on to the other players, or else you end up taking the hit for it. The boss fight here is with Ray and Tito. Like with Dib and Gaz, the game gives them cheap advantages in an effort to make the stage harder. For one thing, only one of them can be on the track at a time, and when the other ends up getting stuck and falling behind, the other comes in to take their place. Since they have separate scores, you would think that you just need more coins than they have. But as it turns out, their scores combine together. So if their combined score is higher than yours, you lose, even though the game gives you that nice little crown on top of your head. Wow. What a way to be a cock tease to kids who play this. Then why didn't you just treat them as one character? Only one races at a time anyway. Additionally, they also seem to be immune to your power-ups, but I've never seen them using power-ups either, so it begs the question why they even kept them in the first place. But to be fair, the changes they made with Ray and Tito's boss fight aren't as unfair as what they did with Dib and Gaz, since you still have an overall fair challenge in beating them. But the big question is, why are you handicapped against these two bosses while you weren't with the others? And that was Coin Rally. And with that, I've basically covered most of the game. Yeah, there's these bonus clan minigames you can unlock with the silver stars you earn from playing certain minigames, but to be honest, they're not that fun. There's quite a few cups you can unlock by collecting bronze stars throughout the minigames, but all these really are trial runs of some of the minigames you played, just in a certain order for each cup. And there's also a big finale minigame you can unlock by completing all the regular minigames, but this is basically just food fight with goo instead of food and points instead of health, so there's not really much else to talk about. So you must be wondering why I think of this game now. The answer's simple. I think it's fine. Yes, the game does suffer from quite a few problems. The controls can be somewhat unresponsive at times, the AI in some of the minigames is questionable, and there are a ton of inconsistencies in how the game works. But is this really one of the worst games of all time? The answer is no. Despite its problems, Nickelodeon Party Blast can still be a lot of fun. Most of the minigames provide a fair challenge, and if you were able to get some friends to play the game with you, you could have an experience almost equal to that of Mario Party. Sure, the minigames might not be as well designed as Mario Party, but for the most part, it's not like they're broken or difficult to play. You might have to adjust to the game's awkward style of play in comparison to other party games, but once you do, Nickelodeon Party Blast can deliver what its title suggests, which is, well, a blast! So you see, I still like this game even a decade later. In fact, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If you hate this game just as much as the critics do, go ahead. Hate it. Just as much as I'll like it. There's no need to get violent over this issue, right? Figures.